There is a Yahoo out there that is complaining, saying that they're a social worker, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. None whatsoever. And first of all, if you're a social worker and haven't been to one of your meetings, haven't done anything to get off your butt to make changes in the child welfare system, I really don't give a damn what you have to say at all. I've worked with politicians for years. I've worked with social workers for years. I have medical professionals in my family. I have a legal background. I have a good understanding of what is not working in child welfare.
And I'm not trying to have a back and forth with, saw this, I said, I got to say something, because let me tell y'all something a little bit here, okay? For those that don't know, I've worked in government, okay, for city and county 10 years. I left my job in October of last year because baby Bunny was having some feeding issues. And so I had to kind of become a stay-at-home mom at this point with baby Bunny, and which is great, has been fabulous. But I did 10 years of working for city and county under a CPS agency, okay? I did 5 years of that was overseeing and supervising other people's work. I built a program from the ground up around that time. In addition to that, I also know what treatment contracts look like, okay? I know what an ICPC is. I know what it's like to fly from state to state, to review and work with the feds to determine if states are doing their job, if these child welfare agencies are doing their jobs in terms of reunifying families and keeping kids safe in the system. Not only that, making sure that they're culturally appropriately matched with their communities, with their placements. I was a caseworker at one point too. I carried cases. I did a lot of ICPCs. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sure did. From the bottom to the top, I worked my way up. Okay, and that's very hard to do. Very hard to do. In addition to that, one of the most humblest moments in my career, okay, when I worked in, 10 years of government, and I'll tell you what I did prior to that as well, because it goes hand in hand, was truly teaching parents that wanted to get custody of their kids back, how to get custody of their kids back. Because sometimes the system, the way in which it's set up, works against them. There's always one barrier after another, whether it's financial, mental health, addictions. Sometimes it's not even the parent. Sometimes it's the child being beyond control of the parent. So there are certain factors. So when I saw this fly, something. Prior to my 10 years, I did community mental health work. I worked in the homes with the parents. I did one-to-ones. I worked with kids. I did a bunch of stuff in the community. I have an undergraduate in criminology. That's my undergraduate. A minor in social science. My master's is in social work. I have some legal studies under my belt. I sure do. That being said, though, doesn't mean I know shit about the system. System changes every time. State to state is always different. What falls under the state that I live may not fall under the state that you all live in.
I'm not advocating just for more money to be flooded into the system. I'm advocating for true changes in the system that has not been updated since 1965. So little girl, sit down. Sit down.
She puts this on this flyer. ICPC hasn't been updated since 1965. Are you sure? Are you sure about that? You're taking this flyer to Washington? And it's so interesting to me that she said that it has not been updated since 1965. I don't know what she means by that, because there's constant updates to it. There would need to be. There would need to be. You see, every 5 years, there is a review that happens, okay, state to state, where the feds come through and they determine who's going to get what money based on the number of foster kids that they have, home placement, and all this stuff, right? And so these cases also get reviewed by the feds. They determine and they figure out, well, what changes need to happen in the system. So that's misinformation right there as you're presenting it. And if I bet you, if half of my audience here didn't even know what an ICPC was, I bet you anything that half of your audience does not know what an ICPC is. You probably need to not abbreviate it and spell it out. Spell it out and explain it to people. Because otherwise you're just spewing misinformation. It don't make no sense. Stands for the Interstate Compact of Placement of Children, okay? And so what happens in that situation is sometimes there are cases that caseworkers, social workers have out there where an ICPC is needed, where one agency, for example, let's say the state that I'm in, this agency plans to work with another agency. There's a child, maybe they've identified a great caretaker in the state. I'm just going to use Arizona for an example. Maybe I'm in this state, maybe I'm in California, okay? And California, I decide to do an ICPC for the state of Arizona. So what I do is there are coordinators that are involved, okay? And depending on that case, maybe I have a child that's 12 that has a friend or a coach that has moved over to Arizona. And we feel that it's appropriate for that child to possibly seek placement over there. So because the state has custody of this child, okay, or we are the placement agency or holder of that child, what happens is then there's a petitioning that happens between the state of California and Arizona that basically says, hey guys, I think that little Johnny would be a great placement over there with Coach Smiley. He wants to be a part of Johnny's life. Can we work together, okay, and make this happen. There's criteria that happens within the state, within that agency, that would need to be met in order to make that happen. There might be background checks. There might be home studies that get done. I might have to fly out to Arizona to determine if Coach Smiley has a good house, a good placement for little Johnny, and is able to meet his needs, and is both culturally appropriate, and there isn't going to be any barriers. And maybe that might be a potential. The state of Arizona also has to do its due diligence to determine, okay, little Johnny, what are little Johnny's needs that we are going to have to meet here in our state? Do we have everything? Not only that, is Coach Smiley right up to par where he needs to be at? Can there, like, what financial help is going to be needed? That's kind of what the gist of an interstate compact is. And it's so.
And one thing you really don't want to do is start poo-pooing on my side of the street. You can stay on your side of the street, don't know who you are, but when you come after me, you better pack a lunch, little girl.
2018, 2019. Don't quote me. I think it was either 18 or 19. Okay. Then President Trump signed the Families First Prevention Services Act. You know, I don't want to make this political. I didn't vote for Trump, but I'm pretty sure that Bullhorn Betty did. Okay. So you would know that what he signed was an initiative to keep kids in the community and safer, and sanction some of these social services agencies. You would know that. So, for example, if a kiddo is beyond control of the parent and says, the kiddo's out of the control, whatever, we're going to put him in a treatment plan and put him in a treatment placement, right? The people that are providing him treatment would need to be licensed. A foster home might need to be licensed. A therapeutic foster home might need to be licensed. These are some of the reforms that he made, because he wanted to make sure that those kids that were in the system did not grow up in the system. He wanted to put tighter restraints to the situation, where not everybody can become a foster parent. Not everyone can become a therapist. Not everyone, these were measures that he put in place to ensure. So I honestly struggle with the sentence, kids are dying at the hands of their parents, because the system is not made to raise kids. It's not. The system is not supposed to raise kids. Social workers aren't supposed to raise kids. Get some feedback. Not only that, note that the president that you voted for, Trump, wants to keep kids home with their parents. Shit happens. It does. It does. It's not all black and white. Fortunate. She can do whatever the hell she wants to. This is how you know. But someone that has done service in the community, and if this is how you treat people because they disagree with you, I would have been happy to have had a conversation with her and said, like, help me understand what you mean. Maybe she needs help with this flyer. I'm down. I'm down to help somebody that needs help with their advocacy. But let's just be real. Like, you're coming over here, instead of complaining, ma'am, no one's complaining. I'm telling you, I was part of the system. I did service. This right here doesn't work that way. You're confusing the two. I don't think she knows how to take feedback. Do you think she would take this feedback okay? Let me know in the chat. I mean, I'm trying to be nice. I'm a nice rabbit. You know what? We're nice over here.